on the programme for our Perspective interview. And today we're joined by Vijay Singh, an award-winning Indian filmmaker and writer who's made his home here in France. Good morning to you and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me over.
Your latest film, Farewell, My Indian Soldier, is one of the very few films that tells the little-known story of Indians who fought here in France during the First World War. Let's begin by taking a listen to a little clip from that film.
Il y a vraiment quelque chose.
C'est là que tu as fait le lien entre les deux histoires.
Là, c'est tout. J'ai dit c'est vrai. Et là, quand j'ai vu ma mère, j'ai raconté. Maman, elle a dit oui, c'est vrai. Mais papa, son père, c'est vraiment un Indien.
So the woman playing the daughter in that film, then she goes on a journey to find out about her Indian ancestors. And it's a part of the story of the First World War which is really very little understood. But India did have an enormous contribution, didn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Worldwide, there were... nobody knows about it, you see. That's the funny thing. There were 140,000 soldiers who just came to the Western Front. You know, Ypres and all that area, north of France. And there were 1.4 million worldwide.
And why do you think it is that that side of the First World War story has been, until now, so undertold?
I don't think, first of all, you know, I mean, it's also a question of who was colonized and who colonized, you know, because if you go to the British Library, to all the archives where I went, if you look at the stuff, not just of the West, but even if you look at the Australian or Anzac troops or Canadian, quote-unquote, from this part of the world, from the Western world, you'd find there's much more material about them. And the moment it's Senegalese, Chinese, coolies, or the Indians, there's very little material. And not many films, but this is actually the first film on the subject, an in-depth treatment of the subject in the world. I mean, BBC's done stuff, but 10-minute thing here, 20-minute thing there. Half of it is actually on their own troops, but this had to be done, and I'm very glad. In fact, half of it is actually produced by me with my little hard-earned money and the Indian Parliament.
Certainly a contribution you really wanted to make then. It's an interesting style, isn't it? Because it mixes documentary and feature film narratives. You found a real French woman who was a descendant of an Indian soldier who fought here. So why didn't you tell the story as a straight documentary? Why did you also use actors?
Well, first of all, you know, I come from the background of fiction cinema, and a novelist. So, you know, I think at times, like, for example, this film is being pretty well received. Over here, it's been on Arte, but elsewhere, I've had to sort of theatrically present it. And why is there so much emotion in the film? If there was no Paloma, the actress playing the great-great-granddaughter of the guy, I don't think there will be emotion because the story itself is quite emotional. But when Paloma carries it, and very well done, actually, very well acted in it, when she carries it, then I think emotion just sort of multiplies many-fold. So in all my films, I mix a bit of, in all my documentaries, I mix a bit of fiction with documentary. I know BBC might find it very difficult to swallow, but
here on France 24, we're very happy with it. This isn't your only film that examines the relationship between France and India. I believe so does Jaya Ganja, excuse me.
No, ganja is the grass that you smoke.
I know.
And Ganga is the Ganges. It's Ganga.
Very different. Now, when we think of India's experience or India's relationship with Europe, we often think of it, its relationship with the UK, given its colonial history. So why did you make a film, several films, about India's relationship with France rather than with the UK?
Well, I live here, you see, because actually for the British press, it's the first question, why Paris? Because I fell in love with surrealism, with André Breton, namely, and with his Naja. And Jaya Ganga, Jaya is the name of a girl, Ganga is the Ganges, and Jaya is a Hindu reincarnation of Naja. I don't know if you know about Naja. Naja was the most famous 20th century half-real, half-unreal woman who got novelized by André Breton. So that's why I came here, and hence began a whole, well, the love affair had begun actually a bit in India with France, But I think it was a story between the two, and luckily so, because there are not many Indo-French stories on this earth anyway.
Certainly, it feels like your contribution is quite unique. Finally, I just wanted to ask you, I'd read somewhere, I'm not sure if it's true, that your father fought in the Second World War. Did that influence your interest in wanting to make films about India's contribution to wars in Europe?
Well, maybe a tiny bit, but towards the end, I think being a historian, it's taught me enough objectivity in life to treat history as history and not just as a personal, fief of family. But at the end of it, yes, because he was a Second World War surgeon. Once I even helped him draft, when he was old, draft an article on his experience of the Second World War. It only shows that you've actually seen the film through and through, because you only get to see about my father in the credits at the end. So it means you reach that. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Vijay Singh, a writer and filmmaker based here in France.